Welcome back to another pen talk. Today we're going to visit a pen manufacturer that I've tried one of their other pens, and this is similar but different. I like certain types of design features, so I saw this one, gave it a shot. This is the eBay auction that I used to buy it. It shipped from the United States, so it came much quicker than it would from China. We'll take a look at the auction that I won. This is the invoice that I got. As you can see, it shipped from California. I paid a few dollars more than buying the pen directly from China. Here's some examples of the Chinese auctions for this pen. It comes in many colors. So let's take a look at which color I got. This is a Lingmo standard packaging, and I think they're slightly more expensive than other Chinese pens because they do give you a nice box. And that costs. And this is the pen. So some of them refer to this as a L'Oreal. I got it because they talked about it being made out of celluloid, and I like the way that it looks. I like the green color. I decided on the green color versus the red or the blue, and I'm not disappointed. This holds its own against any of the celluloids in my vintage, which is nice. It feels good in the hand. And when you open up the pen, you can smell the camphor smell of celluloid. So I would say this is a celluloid pen. The other thing that's nice about it is when you open it up, the section is made out of the same material as the pen. Very, very nice feature. It has a standard nib on it. This is the 0.5 nib, and it has that pilot feed, which a lot of these Lingmos have, in addition to the Jinhaos and other pens that resemble this shape and design. It fits nicely in the hand. It's a light pen. It doesn't weigh much. It posts deeply and securely. The section's a little on the small side, but that's what all these pens are in this family. So we'll do a little twirly twirl, as Steph may say. This material is also a little bit transparent. So we'll take a look at how that looks. I'm using my trusty LED light. And if you can see it through there, you can see the nib. There's where the section is. If we go further down the barrel, you can see a little bit, where you get past the converter, it's obviously more transparent. But that's just an interesting feature of this material, which I'm very pleased with it. I like it. And of course, the cap finial is made out of the same material. So let's see how this compares to some other pens in this similar shape and size from China. Here we have 4 pens to compare. We have the celluloid Lingmo. We have the clear plastic Lingmo, which I reviewed a while ago. Followed by the Sailor Pro Color in clear. It's a friend of mine, his pen. He has used a cartridge converter. And on the end is the Jinhao 992. So what's nice about the celluloid is its barrel is one piece, so using that as an eyedropper would work fine. Put a little silicone grease on the threads on the section and you'll be good to go. All these 3 pens, including the Sailor, have a plug at the end. We'll take a look at that a little bit closer up. So hopefully you can see that plug. I'll move it around a little bit so you can get an idea of it. Again, part of the manufacturing technique. One of the recent pen reviewers talked about the fact that the plug is In the Jinhaos, the plug was a little bit big, and therefore when it was inserted into the barrel, it caused cracking. But the newer ones don't have that issue. At least I haven't seen it, and I've had them for over a month now. If we take a look at the clips, we'll also notice the differences between the clips. The Lingmo definitely mimics the Sailor clip a lot more than the Jinhao does, but they are very similar. If we look at the cat finial, we'll also notice there's a lot of similarities, more similarities than dissimilarities, at least from the visual perspective. One of the main differences is the Sailor Pro Color has a metal section, so that's not going to be a candidate for eyedroppering. The nib is also, the Sailor is a Sailor nib, so it's a lot smoother. Consistent flow is a little bit better, but the Jinhaos and the Lingmos are also very good too. So I think the next thing we need to do is put some nib to paper and see how they write. Here's the 4 nibs up close, and I think it's interesting just to compare them. Here's the green celluloid, followed by the transparent blue one. These are the 2 Lingmo nibs. You got your Sailor Pro Color nib, and then your Jinhao 992. So tipping material in the Jinhao is more pronounced than any of the other pens, but it's similar to what is showing up on the Lingmos. The engraving on the Sailor is definitely the deeper of all 3. You can see where it collects some ink. But they all 3 have great writing experiences. You can also see where the transparent blue Lingmo is slightly smaller than the green one, even though they're both labeled as fine. And the 992 probably writes with the broadest line of any of these, which you'll see in the writing sample. So one may ask, how does the green celluloid on the Lingmo compare with the green acrylic on the Chilton Bostonian? It's a subtler pattern on the celluloid. The acrylic certainly holds its own as far as an interesting material, and the chatoyancy is more dramatic on the acrylic versus the celluloid. I do like the green color, and I can see where both pens have their value from an aesthetics viewpoint. The celluloid certainly looks like a more vintage type of material, and the Chilton acrylic is definitely the modern style of trying to replicate the vintage look of celluloid. I think this pen works fine posted, so people who like their pens posted, this will work well for that. I mean, the nib is very smooth. It's a fairly wet writer. This is that Sailor ink that I recently got. Just easier to show the bottle than to pronounce it. So it's an interesting green, and obviously, this is the Iroshizuku ink that I recently got. I have Sailor on the brain because I've recently been inking up some pens with some of the Sailor inks. So I would say that I'm very pleased with the feel of this nib on paper. It is, I would say, slightly better than some of the 992s that I've been enjoying recently. There's no real softness or flex to this nib. That's one of the differences between this and the 992. The 992s are a softer nib, but this is based on that pilot feed and pilot design, so this is very similar to the nib that you'd find on a pilot Metropolitan pen, or its different variants. So the blue transparent Lingmo has one interesting feature. It has a transparent feed, which is really nice. It looks like Marlin's doing a lot of this now. So when we write with this nib. It's definitely a finer line, and because the nib is a little finer, even these are both marked as fine nibs, you get a little bit more feedback from this. It doesn't feel as smooth as the L'Oreal. Don't worry about the little skipping that you see. It's just trying to write over the camera and the tripod and not keeping the pen on the paper properly. I mean, if you just wrote with this pen without comparing it to the green one, you probably would be satisfied with the nib, but if you compare the two of them, it just doesn't quite give you that same satisfaction. Let's see if we can see any differences in these nibs. The tipping material on the green one is certainly a little bit bigger, even though they both have an F for fine. I think this might be the difference between the 0.38 and 0.5, that the designation that they use a lot on these nibs. But I definitely enjoy the nib on the green pen better than the one on the blue pen. So let's just give the Sailor a little bit of writing here. And this nib is definitely smooth, but it's not any smoother than the green L'Oreal. If we look at this, it's the classic Sailor nib. It has MF on it, so this is medium fine. Nice that Sailor labels the nib designation on the left-hand side of the nib. They're very consistent about that. And if you look at that tipping material, I would say it's closer to the green one. It's a little bit more responsive than the blue nib or the green one, so that's kind of nice. I mean, this is definitely a pleasant writing experience. I apologize, I don't know what ink is in this one. So I think we need to compare these to the Jinhao 992. This is the nib that came with the Jinhao, and I would put this up against any of the other nibs that we've just tried. I mean, it feels good on the paper. Slightly more feedback-ish, but you know, to me, I think you should feel the paper on the nib, and this is the Fabriano paper, which is a little bit more of a coarser surface than the Rhodia, Clairefontaine, or Tomo River paper. But I just enjoy this nib. And this is also probably the wider of all the nibs here. And this is the pen that I inked up with Noodler's Massachusetts 54th, which I'm really enjoying. So we're back to the original pen. Hopefully you've enjoyed this little review of some more pens from China. There are more on the way. I've been very impressed with some of the interesting pens showing up on eBay. And I think it's good. I'm more than happy to be the first one to give them a shot and tell you guys how they write. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed another review, and the 992 is still going strong. So may you have many great writing experiences. Enjoy them all. May they add to your enjoyment of life. Bye. Again, don't worry about some of the slight skips. It has to do with over the camera and stuff, but the nib has been very consistent since I got it. Bye.